Alrighty, so in this function, in this program, we are going to accept a positive fraction from the keyboard, so like a number slash another number, so numerator and denominator, as a string, so it's actually entered as a fraction notation, and it's going to just print out the equivalent fraction in lowest terms. Okay, so since we're practicing functions in this lesson, maybe we can write a couple functions to do this. So in order to actually do the conversion to lowest terms, you need to find the biggest number that divides evenly into the numerator and to the denominator. So that's a greatest common divisor algorithm that we would need to implement. Now, Python has one built in, but let's, again, since we're learning to program, might as well write it from scratch just to get some practice. Okay, so I'm going to write that function, and then I'm just going to write a function that does the conversion itself, and then my main program will just basically get the value from the keyboard, call the conversion, and then have it execute. It's just maybe for a little bit of readability and just some more practice creating functions. So we'll start with the Gcd algorithm. Between two numbers. So remember, this is finding the greatest common divisor between these two integers. So here's my strategy. I am going to basically start with the smallest number, because I don't need to look for any factors above the smallest number because they won't be common. And I'm going to basically count down until I find a common divisor. So in my loop, I'm just basically going to check whether, like if my two values are a and b, I'm going to check if a is divisible by the counter and b is divisible by the counter. And if they are, then since I'm counting down, I can just stop because I will have found the greatest common divisor. Okay. You might look this up on the internet and you'll find something that's probably a recursive solution, which is for another time. Okay, but this is just a kind of an iterative solution to the question. Okay, so, and if I get through that entire loop without finding a common divisor, then there isn't one. So you would return the greatest common divisor as being 1 in that case. Okay, so I'm going to assume that my greatest common divisor is 1 at the start until it changes. Okay. And I am going to find the biggest number, or sorry, the smallest number, so I know what to start with. So if a is bigger than b, then start is equal to b. Otherwise, start is equal to a. Okay. And then I'm going to have my loop that counts backwards. So I is going to be representing the actual divisor itself. Okay. So I'm going to go from start to down to 1, so I'm going to count down by -1. Okay, so start high, count down to 1, and reduce my divisor by 1 every single time through the loop. Okay, and I'm going to check. So if a is divisible by I, so remember it's divisible if there is no remainder. Okay, and b is divisible by I. Okay, so both of those things happen, then I found a common divisor, and since I'm starting high and going low, this will be my biggest common divisor, my greatest common divisor. And I can actually stop looking at that point. Okay? And then I can just return that value. Okay? So if this doesn't find any, then it's going to automatically assume g is still 1. If it does find something, then it'll replace that 1 with what it is. Okay? Okay, so there's my greatest common divisor function. Now I'm going to write a function that just does the conversion. So call it convert. Okay, so it's going to take a fraction that, right? So this converts a fraction in the form n/d, no spaces in between anything. Okay. So what we need is, I need to pick out the n and the d from that list. So I'm going to split that list with the slash as the delimiter. And then I can pick out the values, because what will happen is when I do this, it's going to give me 2 values in my list. The first value will be the numerator, the second value will be the denominator. So the numerator is going to be, it's going to be a string, so I got to convert it. So ND at 0, and the denominator is going to be ND at 1. Okay, so now I'll have grabbed my numerator and denominator, and now I need to find out, now I need to call that GCD algorithm to see whether there is a common divisor between those two. So I'll just call it divisor. So I'll call GCD at, and I'll send numerator and denominator to it. Okay, and then I will, if it finds one, it'll either be 1 or it'll be another number. Okay, in either case, the new numerator is going to be the old numerator divided by that divisor. Okay, and I'm going to use integer division here. I could, if I did it like this, it works fine, but numerator will be a floating point value when it returns, and that's like, fractions don't have decimal numbers in their numerators or denominators. So I can do this because I know it's whatever divisor is going to be divisible. So it is going to be an integer regardless of what I'm doing. So that'll be denominator divided by divisor. Okay, so now I've got the numerator and denominator in lowest terms. I need to create a new string, like an n/d string, to send back, because that's the form that it came out of. That's the form I want it to go out in. So I'm going to return, so something like this would be nice to be able to write. So like that, because we know we can add strings together, right? The only thing is, like, it doesn't work with like numbers and then adding it to a string, but I can convert any number back to a string as well. Okay. So we've seen this in the practice, or sorry, in the lesson, that you can add strings together. So it'll basically just takes the numerator, makes it a string, adds it to another string, adds it to another string. Okay, there to form the n/d fraction. Okay. And then my main program can just be pretty straightforward. It can just be getting the fraction from the user and then calling the converted function. So we'll say my fraction is, enter the fraction. Okay. And then we can just create a reduced fraction. So we'll convert f. And then we can just print the reduced fraction. Using functions makes it your solutions very readable. Okay, so you can kind of exactly see what's going on. And then, oops, I forgot to put def. I can just call main. All right, now, how many errors did I make? Let's see what's going on here. Yeah, of course, def could. It's always the colon. Okay, so if I enter the fraction, if I enter 2/4, it should print out a half afterwards. Okay. If I enter 7/8, it should still print out 7/8. Okay. Or 5/25. Oops, didn't call the program. 5/25, 1/5. Okay, so that is doing the conversion correctly.